Hello guys and welcome. So in this video I wanted to do a comparison between Final Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy VII Remake. This is not a side-by-side comparison of like the opening trailer or anything like that, it's just a comparison of the actual games. So if you like this sort of content, be sure to hit that like button and consider subscribing for daily gaming videos. So, Final Fantasy VII was originally released on PlayStation 1 in 1997 by Squaresoft, before they merged with Square Enix to become Square Enix, which happened some years later. It was the second highest selling game on PlayStation 1 ever, and it lived in the hearts of millions of people around the world. Now, Final Fantasy VII, the original game, was turn-based JRPG, so you would take turns in the combat, and you would try your best to win against a battle. There was random encounters, you were constantly trying to level up your materia, your skills, your level of your characters, getting new pieces of gear and so on, and being able to do bigger and better skills along the way. Now, this game was, like I said, infamous. It's one of the most famous games ever. And after all these years, like 20 plus years have gone by, people were desperate for the game to be remade, like for modern consoles. So in E3 2014, Square Enix announced that they are re-releasing the game, and everyone got really excited and so on and so on. But then they just said, "Oh, we're making a PlayStation 4 port of the PlayStation 1 original game," and people were angry and pissed, to say the least. So E3 2015, they announced, in fact, that they have actually been working on a full-on remake for the game, and it's been in development ever since. So the remake, Final Fantasy VII Remake, is going to come out on the 10th of April 2020. Now, the way that this game is, because the original Final Fantasy VII game was so huge and so long, because it spanned like 3 discs on PlayStation 1, which was unprecedented at the time, because there's so much story and it's so huge of a game, there is no way that they can fit all of the story of Final Fantasy VII into one remake, because just part 1, which is coming out in April, is already said to be 100 gig. So what they're going to focus on is the beginning of the game. So the general story of the game, like I'll give it very, very briefly. You start in the main city with the Shinra Corporation called Midgar, who are generating their electricity through Mako energy. And then the game moves on to exploring the world. And then it culminates in the last battle somewhere. I won't say if you haven't actually played the game before. Obviously, a million other things happen in between. But basically, like I said, the first game is going to focus just on Midgar. Whether it will end when we escape from Midgar, who knows? That's what we're waiting to find out on April 10th. So the difference as well with Final Fantasy VII Remake, other than the fact that obviously it's been modernized for modern consoles, is the fact that the combat is completely different. So it's no longer turn-based, it is hack and slash. But you are going to be able to, when you select your menus, be able to slow down the game to almost make it almost feel like it's turn-based, even though it is just hack and slash. So it's combining the original ATB active time battle system with the modern hack and slash of games like Kingdom Hearts and so many other games that Square Enix have released. But mostly it will be and pay homage to the original game. So they have already said that some of the story elements will be changed, will be expanded, and so on, but the general idea of the game will still be there. So as we can see now, Sephiroth on the screen, Sephiroth first-class soldier, and Cloud would be first-class soldier, who is working for Avalanche, but people have been so excited to see this in the modern day and age, because when you're a kid, like I was like 11, 12 when this first came out, Final Fantasy VII originally came out. Like, to then be able to revisit it 20 years later, you have all these memories of what the game was like, and your memories might exaggerate what the game was actually like. When you actually look at the original Final Fantasy VII compared to today's graphics, it doesn't look good. But that's why they've modernized it completely. Now, they have also revealed as well that Nobuo Uematsu is doing composing some of the music for the game, who was the original composer of the game. A lot of the original people who made the original Final Fantasy VII are involved with Final Fantasy VII Remake, including the director and so on. Now, there is channels which have been set up which exclusively cover Final Fantasy VII Remake information, such as the Night Sky Prince, and Maximillian Dood has done great reactions. There's a lot of videos to talk about the remake. So what I'm going to do is, if you please read the descriptions of the videos I release, I do my best to put as much information as possible. Now, along the way, we have seen nearly all the characters be revealed in the new format, but we've not seen Cat Sif yet. So there's still some characters missing, and we have not seen Yuffie. But we'll have a good impression of what they're like anyway, based on how they looked in the movie Advent Children. So in the timeline of Final Fantasy VII, which I did cover in one of the What Is videos, there is Before Crisis, which is a mobile game. Then there's Crisis Core, which is a prequel to Final Fantasy VII. Then there's Final Fantasy VII, and then there's Advent Children. And in between, there's also Dirge of Cerberus. So it's a big world, Final Fantasy VII. So Square Enix were already expanding on the world. It's not like, for example, they just released one game and then 20 years later people have been desperate for it. People have always wanted more of this game. They've been begging for it for years and years and years and years. And after 20-something years have gone by, people were losing hope that Square Enix would ever do anything with Final Fantasy VII ever again. So especially after all the turmoil that was Final Fantasy 15. So... but basically, the people who begged and begged and begged and begged, eventually they won out. And Square Enix agreed that, yes, they should invest in this game. Because it's a risk for Square Enix. They're obviously investing a huge amount of money into this. So it's only going to be viable for them if it's a commercial success. So they are doing their absolute best to make sure it is. Now, Square Enix is going to be taking the money for the pre-orders on this coming Friday. So I hope it's a massive commercial success for them. They put a huge amount of time, investment, and work into the game for the last 5 years, maybe even longer for all we know. And as I say, in this version of the game, this is just part 1. They haven't really emphasized that it's just part 1. Maybe it's because they're waiting to see how well part 1 does before they decide if they're actually going to carry on with part 2 and part 3. Because it's a huge commitment, like I said, to be able to do everything. They're just like to remake a PlayStation 1 game. Because when you have old games from the old generation, like because the graphics were less, the stories and so on were a lot longer. Because they could be, because they didn't take anywhere near as much memory. But because now games are like, 4K, 60 FPS, amazing, unbelievable graphics and so on, then there's only so much space on a Blu-ray disc, because at the moment Blu-ray discs are the biggest let's say removable source that can be available to the public anyway, and that's viable. And basically even this game is going to be taking up 2 Blu-rays. Now some people did speculate that maybe the videos and the cutscenes for the game are let's say uncompressed 4K video. But that is just not going to be the case, because if that was the case, the entire 100 gig would be about 7 minutes worth of cutscene, which is obviously not the case. They've compressed them, but they are doing their absolute best to make sure that the game works well. Also as well, you are going to be able to switch characters along the way as well. So even when you're in combat with multiple of the characters, like Cloud and Barrett and so on, they showed a lot of the opening mission. You'll be able to, at some point, control Barrett, at some point, control Cloud completely at your own will. Also, as well, you can see, well, you can't tell from this because I muted it, but all of it is voice acted as well, which is different to the original game, which had no voice acting whatsoever. So, now, they have been releasing snippets of extra information as well, about the summons, about the side missions you'll be able to do, and so on. Now, as with all JRPGs, you will be able to go through and do all you want to do with the story as quickly as possible and try and finish it as quickly as possible. Or if you're a player like me, I'm going to go through all of this and I am going to make sure that I do absolutely everything in a zone before I move on to the next one. That's just the way I play these sort of JRPGs. I will be sure to make more coverage about the game as well. Now, because I cover a different game every day on the channel, I did give, I feel like I've given plenty of emphasis to Final Fantasy VII, but there's only so much I can give. So if you want more exclusive, pretty much mostly Final Fantasy VII Remake content, then yet again, I would recommend channels like the Night Sky Prince, who have put in a lot of time just into the announcements about this game. If you're like me and you're just waiting to see how it is when it comes out, then yeah. So guys, let me know in those comments down below. What do you think of Final Fantasy VII, the original game? Are you excited for 7 Remake? Why are you excited? Let's keep this conversation going, because I want to just see really how people feel about the game. Also, as well, if you've never played Final Fantasy VII, but you've been keeping an eye on the remake, also let me know. Like, I am very interested. But it was originally, by the way, you can see it was originally slated for the 3rd of March, 2020, but it was delayed till the 10th of April, 2020. So, yeah. So, guys, like I said, I am very excited for Final Fantasy VII Remake. I really, really am. I'm not going to pretend like it's my favorite Final Fantasy VII Final Fantasy game ever. It isn't. My favorite Final Fantasy game ever is Final Fantasy IX. But for a lot of people, 7 is their favorite game. And because after all this time, for a lot of people, especially the people that went absolutely crazy when the remake was announced, it's just a nostalgia trip for them. It's kind of like, oh my god. Like, if Nintendo like announced a remake for Ocarina of Time, I would probably lose my mind. You know what I mean? So, but we'll see if that ever happens, I guess. So yeah, so as I said, guys, I'm going to link as many useful resources in the description below. I've got a what is video talking about the original 7. I've got a what is video talking about the 7 remake, but this video is a comparison between the two. Like I said, if you want more of this sort of versus content, please let me know in those comments down below. Also, if you have any suggestions of other versus videos I could do, also let me know in those comments down below. So anyway, guys, that's it for this video. Thank you for watching. If you liked it, be sure to give it a thumbs up. You can watch a random video over there. You can watch the latest upload down there, or you can click down here to subscribe. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.